Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to today's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley. Here. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Krasner. Here. Senator Steinbeck. Here. Chair Orenshaw.
Present. And Madam Secretary, please mark Majority Leader Cannizzaro present when she arrives, or absent excused if she is not able to join us today. We do have a quorum. I do want to remind all members that during this time of session, we will have some of the senators going over to present bills before other committees, so if a member has to leave, that's not a sign of disrespect. A few housekeeping reminders. I'd ask everyone to silence their electronic devices. If someone wishes to testify, please sign in at the table by the door. Please provide a business card, if any, to our committee secretary. If you're joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name, affiliation with any group, if you represent a group, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you're going to provide paper handouts, 20 paper copies are out. We ask for 20 paper copies from members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted in PDF form to our committee manager 24 hours in advance of the committee meeting. We talk about issues that are sometimes controversial in this committee, but we do expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with another person's position on an issue. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. We may take agenda items out of order. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. We are very lucky to have our friend speaker, Steve Yeager, here with us today to present Assembly Bill 306. I'd like to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 306. Thank you very much for joining us, Speaker.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, Vice Chair Daley, and members of the Senate Legislative Operations and Elections Committee. My name is Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9, which is in Southwest Las Vegas, and it is an honor to present Assembly Bill 306 in its first reprint to you this afternoon. Assembly Bill 306 is a common sense bill that deals with drop boxes for mail ballots. I do want to state before I get started that this elections bill is not the only elections solution I'm bringing forward this session. There is more to come that aims to meet the goal of having election results quicker in our state, including additional resources for elections officials to make that happen. So stand by, as I am sure I'm going to be back in front of this committee, hopefully a few more times before the next deadline. Chair, I did want to note that I have voted in every way possible over the past few cycles. I have mailed in my ballot through the U.S. mail. I've put my ballot in a drop box. I voted in person during early vote, and I've also voted on Election Day. Each time I made a choice that worked best for me. Each time my vote was counted without any problem at all. And that really is what this bill is about, making sure Nevadans can vote in a way that works for them. So let's get to the bill. It is simple in concept, but it has the potential to ensure that we get election results quicker, likely on election night itself. So first I want to start with existing law, existing statute, and this is NRS 293.269921. Existing law, we're not making any changes here, but for a mail ballot to be counted, unless it is mailed, it must be delivered by hand to the county clerk or placed in a ballot drop box before the time set for the closing of the polls. Each county clerk must establish a ballot drop box at every polling location in the county, including at early voting sites. A county clerk may establish a ballot drop box at any other location where ballots can be delivered by hand and collected during the early voting period and on Election Day. In addition, our law already talks about drop boxes and how they have to be maintained and what they have to look like. So drop boxes must be constructed of metal or other rigid material of sufficient strength and resistance to protect the security of the ballots, and must be capable of securely receiving and holding the mail ballots, and they must be locked. Drop boxes must be placed in accessible and convenient locations at the county clerk's office or polling places, and must be available for use during hours when those locations are open to the public. So that is existing law. We live under that law. That's the way the last election was conducted. So what does Assembly Bill 306 in its first reprint do? you may have noticed when you go to vote that there is a 3-day gap between the end of early voting, which is the close of business on that Friday before the election, and on Election Day, which is the following Tuesday. So if you're following the logic, between the close of early vote, we have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We have a 3-day gap there. Now, under current law, ballot drop boxes are not required to be available to the public on those 3 days. They can be provided if a county so chooses, but they're not required on those 3 days. Yet I know that there are voters, and you probably know too from talking to voters, there are voters who may want to return a mail ballot to a drop box on that Saturday, Sunday, or Monday before the election. And they might want to do that for any number of reasons: convenience, work schedules, family reasons, uncertainty about whether a U.S. mail ballot, a ballot put in the mail, will arrive in time, really any reason at all. So this bill is designed to fill that 3-day gap. It is designed to require that some number of ballot drop boxes be available to voters in Clark and Washoe counties during the 3 days after the end of early voting, but before the actual election day. So the substantive provisions of AB 306 are mostly in Section 1. I'll go through them. For the 3-day period we've been discussing, the county clerk in a county of 700,000 or more, that would be Clark County, must establish at least 10 locations where a voter can return their mail ballot in a drop box, which must be open to the public for at least 7 hours each day. So this would be for those 3 days we're talking about between the end of early voting and election day. In a county of more than 100,000 persons, but less than 700,000, Washoe County, the county clerk must establish at least 5 locations, again, open to the public for at least 7 hours each day. In all other county clerks, there is not a mandate, but the county clerk may provide ballot drop boxes at appropriate locations and prescribe the hours they're open for the public to use. Now, the language in Sections 2 and 4.5 of the bill add new language to make clear that all drop boxes, not just the ones on that weekend, all drop boxes must be monitored at all times when they are available to the public, and that they must be secured during any period when they are not available. The bill indicates that the Secretary of State will adopt regulations to establish requirements for monitoring and securing of drop boxes. So that really is the bill in its entirety. So why might we want to do this beyond what we talked about earlier, which is some voters might want to use a drop box that weekend? We're trying to ensure that more ballots are received prior to Election Day so that they can be counted. I have uploaded 2 exhibits to Nellis that give you a breakdown for Washoe and Clark County in terms of ballots recovered from drop boxes in the days leading up to the election and Election Day. And I have those here, and I want to go through them just to illustrate what I think is what we are trying to achieve. So if you'll give me just a second, Mr. Chair. This is a document from the Secretary of State, and this is about Clark County. So I want to draw your attention to about the middle of the page. What we have there are 2 columns. We have mail ballots received from a drop box and mail ballots received from the U.S. Postal Service. And what you're going to see at the top there is the last 2 days of early voting, October 31st, 11,800 ballots were received in drop boxes. And on 11/1, and by the way, this is from the last election cycle, 11/1, which was the last day of early vote, 22,000 ballots were received in a drop box. And then you're going to see 3 days where not a single ballot was recovered from a drop box because Clark County did not provide a drop box in any form or fashion over those 3 days. But then we get to Election Day, November 5th, and what you see here is 56,000 plus ballots were dropped off in drop boxes on Election Day. So the hope with this bill is with those 3 days, perhaps that 56,000 becomes something more like 15 or 20,000. And so if we can spread the time period out over the weekend, that will give our elections officials more time to be able to collect those ballots from the drop box and begin to process them so they don't have to try to contend with 56,000 ballots arriving on Election Day when they're actually trying to run an election through a normal election site. So that's Clark County and gives you the sense of the scope. And then Mr. Chair, I will open up Washoe County as well, and as you might imagine, Washoe County is smaller than Clark, so the numbers aren't going to be quite as dramatic, but I think they're still illustrative for the purposes. So we'll go to the same sort of column, middle of the page there, and you're going to see a couple different things here. Number one, October 31st, about 2,900 ballots, November 1st, about 4,500, and then you're going to see there actually were ballots that were dropped off in the 3 days in Washoe, because Washoe did have at least one location where folks could drop off ballots in a drop box. And so, number one, what you're seeing is people will use the drop boxes if they're available on those 3 days. But you still see on Election Day, November 5th, 11,500 ballots dropped off, which, is roughly equivalent to what we saw in Clark in terms of a population basis. But the idea would be here, if we make sure there's at least 5 drop boxes on those 3 days, we're probably going to see that 11,500 number decrease somewhat, giving the clerks more time to process the ballot. So hopefully you found that instructive. And again, this is information that came from the Secretary of State's office in terms of the number of ballots that they process. And that is available on Nellis if you'd like to look at those exhibits in more detail, or if anyone from the public would like to look at it. Couple of more things I want to say before I close, Chair. In the 2024 general election, the one we just lived through, there were enough early voting sites that also served as polling places on Election Day that both Clark and Washoe would be able to satisfy the requirements of this bill if they simply kept those sites open for 3 days as a drop box location. Many other early voting sites were in places that are already open over the weekend, and you all know this. Often early election sites are grocery stores, they're libraries. So we were very aware of not wanting to impose additional burdens. So using the sites that already exist or places that are already open on weekends, I believe we could achieve this. I do not believe complying with the requirements in Assembly Bill 306 should be overly burdensome, and they'll provide more options for voters to cast their vote in a safe and secure manner that works best for all of them. And then in addition, as I noted, the bill doesn't tell Clark and Washoe how they should comply. It doesn't dictate where the drop boxes will be. We wanted to leave it to their discretion as much as possible so that we're not meddling in what they're doing. But obviously, we would hope that they're going to space those drop boxes out in a manner that makes geographical sense, and they can probably use some of the data they already have in terms of where are the popular locations for drop boxes, and tend to have those open over the weekend. Chair, I'm proud to let you know that this bill did receive bipartisan support in the Assembly. I hope it'll receive that same over here, and I urge the committee to support this bill because I do think it's going to solve the problem of folks being frustrated about not having results on election night, particularly in the high-profile races, because if we can move back those dates and encourage people to drop their ballots off over the weekend, those ballots can be processed before Election Day, so we don't have that backup. So, Chair, with that, I'll leave my comments there, and I would be happy to answer any questions that this committee has.
Thank you very much. I've got a question and kind of a comment, and then I'll open it up to members for any questions. What I really like about the bill is I have a lot of constituents who will reach out to me on the last Friday of early voting and, ask me, where can I go vote tomorrow? And I let them know, well, early voting closes. So, your last chance is either on Election Day or to turn in your mail ballot. So I feel like the bill here will give more people an opportunity to turn in their mail ballot, especially, I have a lot of folks who contact me who, they want to turn in the mail ballot, but sometimes are worried about the Postal Service and the equipment at the Postal Service, and sometimes something can get mangled through the mail system, and or feel more secure returning it to a drop box. So I think this will help a lot of folks who, maybe they're not able to get to vote Tuesday, maybe on Election Day, maybe their work, and be able to turn it in on that Saturday, Sunday, or that Monday to not just give up and not vote. So I think that in addition to the pluses you mentioned in terms of election administration, being able to get those ballots counted, I think that it may help a lot of people who might, throw their hands up, say, well, I missed the end of, being able to turn it in here at early vote during that period, and I don't know if I'll be able to go Tuesday with, taking the kids to school and going to work and everything else. So that's what I really like about the bill. I guess one question I have, you mentioned that in section 1, Clark and Washoe already have enough Dropbox locations existing that they would already be able to satisfy that requirement in the bill for at least the 10 locations for Clark, the 5 locations for Washoe. Do you know how many they have open now, or is that, but you do know that, and if you don't, you know that they have more than that that's already prescribed in AB 306?
Steve Yeager, for the record. Thank you, Chair, for the comment and the question. And first I'll say I agree with your comment wholeheartedly, and I think I didn't state this and I probably should have. Using mail-in ballots, whether it's by mail or Dropbox, has become increasingly popular among all voters in Nevada, no matter the political party. And to your point, for those of us who've knocked on doors, which I think is probably all of you up here, you definitely have that situation on the Saturday or Sunday before election, even the Monday, where somebody says, well, how can I go? Can I go vote today? And the answer is no. You can go vote on Tuesday. And all of us, no matter who they cast their ballot for, should want people to vote. And when someone is ready to vote and they want to go do it, there should be a way for them to do that. And I think being able to direct them to a Dropbox over the weekend would be good, I think, for the process and good for voter turnout. To your question, Chair, every single polling place, early vote site that is open has a Dropbox already. That is required by law. So, if I go to vote at the Albertsons or the Smiths or the library on that last Friday, there's already a Dropbox there. And a lot of people take advantage of that, right? We saw by the numbers. There are people that want to use a Dropbox rather than vote on the machine. And so my point was just merely, if you look at all those different sites that were open on that Friday, like there are clearly 10 of them in Clark and 5 of them in Washoe that also serve as day of election sites. So the infrastructure and equipment is already there. It's just that they close over the weekends, right? And people can't go vote or use the Dropbox. So what I was intending to convey was, I don't want a situation where somebody needs to find a brand new place to put a Dropbox there's not one already there. I think it would be easier for them to say, okay, we already have a Dropbox here that's available on Friday, and we know it's going to be available on Tuesday on Election Day, so is there a way we can have that Dropbox available in this location where it already is over those 3 days? So I want to be mindful of the resources and costs, because they have to be monitored during hours that people can use them, so there's some staffing there, and they have to be locked away. But they're already going to be doing that during the early vote period, right? If you have an early vote site that's open for 2 weeks, the Dropbox is going to be there 2 weeks, and it's going to have to be locked and stored. And the requirement that they be monitored is a new requirement in this bill, and that was specifically a change I made to this bill at the request of one of my assembly colleagues who really wanted to see that in the bill before she was able to support it. And of course, we were willing to do that. So, Chair, I just think we wanted to make it as easy as possible for the counties to comply, and I think the way it's drafted, it will be as easy as possible.
Thank you very much, Speaker Yeager. Members, any additional questions for Speaker Yeager? I'm not seeing any additional questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. We understand how busy you are, so if you need to leave, we completely understand. Thank you very much, Speaker. I'd like to now open it up for anyone in support of Assembly Bill 306. I am going to limit testimony to 2 minutes per speaker for support, neutral, and opposition. So whoever would like to speak in support, please come forward. I'll start here in Carson City. Please state your name for the record and proceed, and then we'll head down to Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. My name is Kayla Maese, Kaylahmaese. I'm a civil rights analyst at the ACLU of Nevada, and we support this bill. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Cisco Aguilar, Secretary of State, just testifying in favor of the Speaker's bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Who would ever like to go next? Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Isaac Tenorio, I-Z-A-C-K, T-E-N-R-I-O. Isaac Tenorio with Strategy 60, today representing Campaign Legal Center. Campaign Legal Center is in support of AB 306, which would implement a much-needed improvement to the current Nevada statute around drop boxes. This legislation would ensure that more Nevadans have the access to secure boxes during a critical juncture in the election period, the time between early voting and election day itself. Explicitly requiring a specific number of drop boxes in large jurisdictions ensures that voters will be confident in placing at a time that will securely drop their mail ballots ahead of election day. Having mandatory drop boxes available to the public during this time may also help offset the number of ballots arriving on or after Election Day and enable election officials to process mail-in ballots more efficiently during this busy time. We urge you to support this measure. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record and proceed. Thank you, Dr. Tenorio.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Noe Orozco. That's N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O. I'm the Government Affairs Manager with Make the Road Nevada, and we're here in support of AB 306. By promoting accessibility and security, this bill helps ensure that every eligible Nevadan can cast their vote with ease and confidence. This is especially important for our gente, who make up nearly 30% of the state's population and play a growing and essential role in our democracy. Our comunidad contributes enormously to Nevada's economy and culture, yet we face challenges that can complicate our ability to fully engage in the political process. Many voters juggle with multiple jobs or work long or irregular hours, and AB 306 helps make sure our comunidad, AB 306 helps meet our comunidad where they are, offering flexible, trusted options that respect the realities of daily life. This bill is a commitment to strengthening the voice of our gente and ensuring that all Nevadans can make their voices heard, no matter where they are and what the responsibilities they carry. It doesn't just improve access, it empowers participation and ensures that the democratic system reflects the full diversity and strength of the state. And for that, we urge you to support it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roscoe. With that, I'd like to go down to Las Vegas. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Chanel, C-H-A-N-E-L, Casanello, C-A-S-S-A-N-E-L-L-O, and I'm the campaign manager at All Voting is Local Action Nevada. We're an organization that advocates for policies and legislative priorities that expand voter access. We strongly support AB 306, a common sense bill that will give voters more opportunities to drop off their mail ballots after early voting ends and before in-person voting begins again on Election Day. In Washoe and Clark counties, AB 306 will add at least 15 new drop-off boxes for voters to utilize during the critical last weekend before Election Day, ensuring more flexibility and convenient voting options. This bill can provide much-needed support for voters in our 15 rural counties, if the counties choose to do so. These voters are geographically dispersed, resulting in longer distances for voters to travel to cast their ballots, and they need as much flexibility as possible. Overall, this bill will reduce voters' confusion during the last weekend before Election Day, provide an additional secure voting option, and help ease the rush on Election Day. I urge you to support AB 306 as it is a meaningful step to ensuring greater access to the ballot for all Nevadans. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next in Las Vegas, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Sejun, spelled J-A-N-N-I-F-E-R, S-R-I-C-H-A-N-D-R. I'm with 1APA Nevada, a grassroots organization dedicated to organizing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders in Nevada to advocate for issues and policies that affect our communities. Voting should be simple, secure, and accessible no matter where you live. For many Nevadans, especially in the ANHPI community, casting a ballot can be difficult while juggling work, caregiving responsibilities, and language barriers. The ability to return a ballot safely during that critical window can mean the difference between being heard and being left out. Secure drop boxes offer peace of mind that their vote will count without delays or other incidents. Expanding access to secure drop boxes, especially in the final days of an election, is a practical and equitable step that gives every Nevadan more opportunities to engage in the democratic process. When we remove barriers, we strengthen democracy for everyone. I respectfully urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Priscilla Gomez. That's Priscella, last name Gomez, and I'm the Democracy Manager at Silver State Voices. I'm here to testify in support of AB 306 on behalf of my organization and the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. At Silver State Voices, our coalition engages in voter outreach through voter education, election protection, and get out the vote programs. Each election cycle, we hear from our voters who have questions on how to return their mail ballots. Many are surprised that currently, the weekend after early vote, Drop-off boxes are not available, and voters must rely on the U.S. Postal Service as their only option. Allowing secure drop-off boxes between the voting and election day period would give voters more flexibility and help boost their voter turnout in our state. This bill would improve the efficiency of mail ballot processing and deliver quicker results. As voting by mail becomes more common, it's essential to make this process as smooth and accessible as possible for both voters and election workers. Thank you, Speaker Yeager, for sponsoring the bill. We urge the committee to support AB 306. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see anyone else coming forward in Carson City or Las Vegas in support. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to speak in support? We are limiting speakers to 2 minutes per person.
If you'd like to testify in support of AB 306, please press *9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. This is Dara Martinez representing the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition, and we like to thank Speaker Yeager for sponsoring this important and, what lack of better words, a wraparound accessibility voting bill. As a person with disability, sometimes it is hard. I am blind and I have other friends who are wheelchair users, ASL, American Sign Language users. So it's hard to find accommodations. And sometimes when people with disability who are wheelchair users have a hard time getting the caregiver, and the weekend when the caregiver are day off and they can be able to help our friends to go vote independently is very helpful. And I especially like that he is continuing the same location. As a person who has a guide dog, I train my dog to, let's say, a library where I go and cast my vote. When my dog knows the location, I don't have to retrain him and accidentally go somewhere else where I don't need to be. So I appreciate all of the hard work that he has put in this bill, and I hope that you all support it for people of Nevada. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Matilda Miller. That's Mathildamiller, Government Relations Director of Native Voters Alliance Nevada, in strong support of Assembly Bill 306. On paper, that 3-day window between the last day of early voting and election day might look insignificant, but in real life, it can mean the difference between a vote cast and a vote silence. Not every single Nevadan has control over their schedule. People across the state work overnight shifts. Sometimes they may juggle multiple jobs. They care for kids or their elders, or they may work varying hours with no guarantee that they'll be free when voting hours align. Things happen, emergencies arise, life doesn't stop for our elections, and a functioning democracy should not expect it to. At its heart, this bill is about designing an election system that reflects how people actually live, not how we wish they did. These voters are not careless, they're busy, they're stretched thin, and they're doing their best. If we're serious about protecting the integrity of our elections, the answer isn't restricting access, it's designing a system that includes every single eligible voter and reflects the realities of how Nevadans live and work. Trust is built when voters see a system that works for them, not just for those who have flexible schedules and a lot of free time. We urge your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. My name is Rudy Zamora. That's R-U-D-Y. Zamora is Z-A-M-O-R-A. And I'm the Advocacy Director at Chicanos por la Causa, Nevada. And we urge this, we are here in strong support of AB 306. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. My name is Jamelle Nance, that is J-A-M-E-L-L-E-N-A-N-C-E, and I'm the Early Childhood Policy Director with the Children's Advocacy Alliance. CAA is an independent voice for Nevada's children with the mission of ensuring every child in Nevada thrives. Today, I'm standing in strong support of AB 306, which aims to enhance voters' accessibility by mandating the establishment of additional mail ballot drop box locations in certain counties during the period between the end of early voting and Election Day. We know that families with young children often face unique barriers to voting, such as childcare responsibilities, unpredictable work hours, and limited flexibility to stand in long lines or travel across town to drop off a mail-in ballot. By expanding the amount of mail-in ballots in locations in larger counties between the end of early voting and Election Day, we are supporting Nevada's parents. As we know, parents are not just voicing their opinions, they are advocating for the future of their children in the area that they're growing up in. By ensuring more accessible, secure, and convenient voting options, AB 306 helps lift some of the logistical burdens families face. And when we make it easier for parents to vote, we strengthen Nevada's future, one child, one family, and one ballot at a time. So thank you so much for your consideration of this legislation, and we urge your support.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jessica Munger, MUNGER, Programs Manager of Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization. We're in support of AB 306 as it expands access for participation in the democratic process, leading to more representative outcomes. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Ornshaw and members of the committee. My name is William Moore, spelled WILLIAMMOORE, and I'm the Nevada Civic Engagement Director with Mi Familia en Acción, here testifying in support of AB 306. Mi Familia en Acción is a civic engagement organization where we work with and for the community year-round. We believe AB 306 is a policy that shows the community that our legislature respects our right to be the primary decision maker of our beautiful state. In our civic engagement work, folks constantly had questions about when, where, and how to participate in the early voting process. Establishing more opportunities for potential voters to become voters will help safeguard our right to count. In Mi Familia en Acción, we believe that our community deserves to be heard too. Thank you, Senator Ornshaw, Senator Canizaro, Assembly Member Mosca, Speaker Yeager, Assembly Member Monroe Moreno for sponsoring this bill, and we recommend the committee support AB 306. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jenna Vella, Jenna, V as in Victor, ELLA, and I'm the Programs and Partnerships Director at Battleborn Progress. I'm here to voice our strong support for AB 306. This bill takes meaningful steps to improve access to the ballot while ensuring security and oversight. Requiring monitored drop boxes in Clark and Washoe counties during the critical days before the election makes voting accessible for thousands of Nevadans, especially working families, seniors, and voters without easy access to transportation. Allowing a trusted person to return the ballot on the voter's behalf is both a practical and necessary for many in our state. Combined with clear guidelines from the Secretary of State, AB 306 balances accessibility with integrity. At Battleborn Progress, we believe a healthy democracy depends on making it easy, not harder for people to vote. We urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in support of AB 306, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working. There are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now move to opposition to Assembly Bill 306. I'll start here in Carson City, then I'll go down to Las Vegas, then I'll go to the phone lines. So whoever's here in Carson City, thank you for joining us. Please state your name for the record and proceed, and I am limiting speakers to 2 minutes per speaker. Afternoon.
Hello, Hello, my name is Catherine Ingham, Catherineingham, and I have a letter from the Nevada Federation of Republican Women. Dear Chair and Committee, thank you for allowing testimony in opposition to AB 306. The Nevada Federation of Republican Women represents 18 clubs statewide and more than 1,500 members. On March 29, 2025, the NV Federation of Women formally adopted a resolution on election integrity reflecting our members' commitment to transparent, security, and constitutionally grounded elections. AB 306 fails to promote election integrity. The bill delegates key responsibilities such as the monitoring and securing of ballot drop boxes to the discretion of the Secretary of State without providing clear statutory guidelines. This lack of specificity raises significant concerns about uniformity, oversight, and potential abuse. Unfortunately, the proposed amendments do not resolve these issues. To be clear, we strongly oppose the amended version of AB 306 and respectfully urge a no vote. Respectfully, Nevada Federation of Republican Women. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Good afternoon, sir. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and committee. My name is Jim DeGraffenreid, J-I-M-D-E-G-R-A-F-F-E-N-R-E-I-D. I'm Nevada's Republican National Committee man here today on behalf of the Nevada Republican Party in opposition to AB 306. We're in agreement with the bill's sponsor that it should be easy for voters to participate in Nevada elections. However, it is already so easy to vote here that we don't think there are any Nevadans who want to vote that are not able to do so. Voters can participate on Election Day using same-day voter registration if needed. They have 2 weeks of early in-person voting, mail-in ballots, drop boxes, and in every legislative session there's an attempt to add more classes of voters eligible to vote online. Turnout numbers show that our belief is correct. Expanding voting opportunities has not increased participation. 2020 statewide turnout with expanded voting opportunities was only about 0.5% higher than the 2016 presidential election at 77.26%. Far from being record turnout, this 2020 turnout was down more than 3.5% from the 80.77% in the 2012 presidential election, which, by the way, had the most timely results in recent history. In 2024, general election turnout was down again to 72.84%. Since expanding voting opportunities has not increased turnout, we're very concerned about more changes that will do nothing but reduce security. Particularly troubling in this bill is Section 3, which allows ballot harvesting by third parties at drop boxes. Even though Amendment 94 increases security at drop boxes, security remains a concern. Instead of making it easier for third parties to harvest ballots, we should focus on measures to restore the security of Nevada's elections. For example, requiring all mail ballots to be postmarked and received by Election Day to be counted, or implementing voter ID or verifying signatures on all mail ballots. While there was a single Republican vote in the Assembly for AB 306, out of over 200 opinions on the legislative website, 96% of them are in opposition. Nevada Republicans believe that AB 306 will not increase participation, but will indeed reduce security, and we urge this committee to not pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Not seeing anyone else come forward in Carson City in opposition. I'd like to go to Las Vegas. If there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to Assembly Bill 306, please state your name for the record and proceed. And we are limiting speakers to 2 minutes per person.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Jill Douglas, Douglass, and I speak as a concerned citizen of Senate District 6. I rise in strong opposition to Assembly Bill 306. 97% of the voicing opinion on this bill also stand in opposition. This bill is a perfect example of what voters are tired of: expensive, unnecessary government overreach disguised as some type of reform. By mandating 10 mail ballot drop boxes to be monitored and secured under new standards set by the Secretary of State, AB 306 will create another unfunded mandate that counties will be forced to absorb. Election costs are already skyrocketing, and this bill only drives those costs higher with no guarantee of improved security and no assurance of real results. To be clear, ballot drop boxes are available currently for 2 weeks to accommodate all the reasons given. AB 306 adds additional layers of regulation without meaningfully addressing vulnerabilities. It distracts from the real reforms we need, like voter ID, signature verification, cleaning up our voter rolls, tighter chain of custody protocols. Over 70% of Nevadans support these reforms, yet they've been ignored in the legislature. The Secretary of State reports show that over 98% of mail ballots are received before Election Day. Perhaps the higher numbers on Election Day show the desire of many to actually vote on Election Day. Universal mail-out of ballots, allowing unpostmarked ballots to be counted after Election Day, and the bills like this continue to erode the public's faith in secure elections. Voters deserve to trust that our elections are fair, secure, and transparent. We don't need more costly Band-Aids. We need real solutions the voters want. I urge you to oppose Assembly Bill 306. Our elections and the public's faith in them deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I see another gentleman down in Las Vegas. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
I'm Devin Livesey, Devin. Last name is Livesey, Livziey. I am the Vice Chairman of the Clark County Republican Party, and I oppose this bill. Not only our mail-in ballots are mailed out to out-of-state people requesting them 40 to 45 days early, with more than ample time to return them. In-state ballots mail out 20 days before the voting, more than ample time to return them. We have 14 days of early voting where people can drop off their ballots or actually go into early vote before the election. Having 3 more days of drop-off ballot, aside from the ballot harvesting, which is something that is very suspect, this provides another unnecessary cost to Nevada taxpayers for 3 additional days of facilities either being open if need be, or security to make sure that those ballots and that those drop boxes are not tampered with, plus just the driving and the counting of the extra ballots on the extra days at the election headquarters. For these reasons, I strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir. I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas coming forward to speak in opposition. So broadcasting, if we could go to the phone lines for anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to Assembly Bill 306, we are allotting 2 minutes per speaker.
Thank you. If you would like to testify in opposition to AB 306, please press *9 to take your place in the queue.
CYRUS HOJJATY. I appreciate the efforts of the bill sponsor. Good afternoon, but I will remain in opposition, and I will also ditto. Thank you.
Hi, Yolanda Canuck, YOLANDA, last name KNAAK. Dear Chair and Committee, I have something. I'm in opposition of AB 306. My concern, my biggest concern, is the fact that saying, that the Secretary of State will make sure they're secure is inadequate. A law must have specified security procedures. And to be quite honest with you, in the last election, over 70% of the voters voted in favor of voter ID. And it's because they don't believe our election process is secure, regardless of how many times people will tell you it's secure. The people's voting is very loud, and that's their voice, and that's our voice. Another problem is the fact that this is unfunded, and that part isn't addressed. And ballot boxes during early voting are available for 2 weeks. The other thing about those ballot boxes is that during early voting, there are actually people, working for the register of voters, ROV, they're workers there. They check to make sure that the person signed their ballot. A lot of people show up, haven't signed their ballot, and so really need someone to observe the ballots. We stamp them, and then we put them into the secure box. And so thank you very much. Please vote no on AB 306. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Oscar Williams calling, OSCAR, WILLIAMS, from Reno, Nevada. I am opposed to AB 306. This bill intends to chip away at county and city rights to regulate and conduct local elections and designate the places of elections per Nevada Constitution, Article 4, Section 20. I'm going to cite you a legal case, an opinion by the Nevada Supreme Court. The case is called Clark County versus City of Las Vegas. Citation is 574 P.2D 1013, also 94 Nevada 74 from 1978. And this, I'm just going to read you a couple sentences and it'll make sense as to why this bill is not going to survive legal challenge. The opinion is by Justice Thompson, and this is regarding a different matter, but it's wholly applicable when you start writing legislation that interferes in local and special rights, or election rights of cities and counties, which this bill does. Judge Thompson's opinion is this action was commenced to challenge the constitutionality of the 1977 Legislative Act creating a metropolitan fire department in any city having a population of 125,000 or more, located in a county having a population of 200,000 or more, in which a county fire agency exists within 10 miles of the city. Right? A little complicated, but has some of the same parameters in terms of population and interfering in local and county rights that are in this bill. Then he goes on to say, since only the city of Las Vegas and county of Clark have the requisite population, the act must fall as local and special legislation prohibited by Nevada Constitution, Article 4, Section 20. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This bill is unnecessary. It's truly part of the power grab that is the Secretary of State's mission at this point, and I'm opposed to it. Please do not pass the horrid AB 306. Thank you.
Caller with the phone number ending in 456, please press *6 to unmute yourself and begin. Chair, that caller has dropped off the line. We have some more coming.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kimberly Fergus, KIMBERLYFERGUS. I rise in strong opposition of this bill, AB 306. I'm going to tell you why. This bill imposes yet another unfunded mandate on our county, forcing the creation of additional ballot box locations during a period and secure voting options already exist. This is irresponsible government spending at a time when taxpayers are demanding physical discipline. The problem isn't the number of boxes. The real issue is the chaos caused by universal mail-in balloting. Mailing ballots to every voter, whether requested or not, created unnecessary costs, confusion, and serious concerns about ballot security. Before mandating more infrastructure, the legislation should fix the core problem. Return to a system where voters request a mail-in ballot. Eliminating unnecessary universal mail-outs would free up resources and allow counties to manage elections responsibly. Without those constant new mandates. Expanding drop boxes under this broken system only creates more opportunities for and litigation, not greater election security or voter confidence. Furthermore, I seriously question whether the members of this body are reading the public opinions submitted on these bills. If you did, you would see that your constituents overwhelmingly oppose this. Voters are asking for election security, not endless expansion and reckless spending. Respect the voters. Vote no on AB 306. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Gifford, ELLEN, GIFF as in Frank, ORD as in David. Nevada regulations state that the laws regarding electioneering at a polling place includes, without limitation, the location of a ballot drop box. All of the requirements regarding electioneering will apply to all of the ballot drop boxes AB 306 proposes. Besides the 100-foot signage at each location, there must be at least one person present at all times to enforce the electioneering law. This will cost the county a great deal of additional funding to implement. Additionally, Nevada regulations mandate the county clerk shall establish and use a retrieval team to collect and transport mail ballots from the ballot drop boxes to the receiving center or to the central counting place. These retrieval teams may be required to make several trips during the extra unnecessary days required by this bill. Again, this will cost the county a great deal of additional funding to implement. The security measures for drop boxes, such as having someone constantly present at the location of the ballot drop box or having the ballot drop box securely fastened to prevent it from being tampered with or moved, will also cost the county a great deal of additional funding in order to implement. Testimonies at recent legislative sessions have made it clear that there are bills, including AB 306, being proposed that impact the duties of duly elected county clerks without their input or agreement. Additional duties and funding requirements are simply imposed upon the county. This is an unacceptable and disrespectful legislative malpractice. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jane Davis. I'm a concerned resident from Nye County, and I'm here to express my opposition to AB 306. This bill expands the ability to have mailed ballot drop boxes after early voting and before Election Day, which amounts to 3 extra days. This proposed amendment increases the cost of running elections and adds to the workload of the county clerks, who must increasingly plan, deliver, and collect mail ballots from multiple geographic locations, as specified in NRS 293.252. Traditionally, the weekend before Election Day has been used to get ready for the Tuesday event. We will be diverting resources to monitor, secure, and provide support for voters dropping off ballots. The amendment represents overreach by telling county clerks how to do their job. Lastly, adding these 3 days to the election cycle encourages last-minute ballot collection, also called ballot harvesting. Since partial election results are available during this time, it is easy to estimate the range of ballots required to win a race. Behavior like this was outlawed prior to 2021. Let's not add to this phenomenon. I urge you to vote no on AB 306. Thank you.
My name is Cynthia Perrine, CYNTHIAPERINE. Thank you, Senate Legislation and Operations Committee, for the opportunity to express my opposition to AB 306. The bill has been amended to require that drop boxes be continuously monitored and in use and secured when not in use. and that these security measures are to be set in place not by county clerks, but by the Secretary of State. This bill continues to pose difficulties for voters. The first difficulty is that the security terminology is vague. The means and methods are not stipulated. The bill is silent about the hours of operations, the use of security cameras or not, which can be disengaged, and how the monitoring will be done. And to be enforceable, these terms should be spelled out in the bill as law. The second difficulty has been pointed out is personnel. It's well established that county election workers are overmaxed during election season due to well-publicized inadequate resources. Is it wise to impose more duties on workers at this crucial time in the election process? It is highly likely that this law would be impossible to execute. And if so, could election integrity be undermined by illegal ballot stuffing should security measures be spottily performed? Nevada legislatures, finally, should have a healthy awareness that public confidence in elections in Nevada is low. To better serve our law-abiding, tax-paying voters, legislators should be working to enhance this confidence rather than undermine it. Voters have ample opportunity, as been submitted during this testimony, that they can submit their votes via mail or during early voting and on election day. These extra drop boxes are not needed. I respectfully request the committee to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, I-V-A-N-O Frank. I would urge you to oppose this bill. It is very sad that once again, Nevada finds itself 49 out of 50. Just Hawaii is worse than us when it comes to election integrity and the trust of the people in the elections. This bill only is gonna erode that, and we may win the last place at that point, which not big difference there, but I really hope that there's so many things you can do to fix our elections, that people can start believing in our elections again. And this is definitely a step in the wrong direction. Please listen to your constituents. You're there to represent our will. And if you look in the Nellies, you will see that majority of people, close to 80% of us, do not want this law to go through, this bill to become a law. So please, I urge you to vote no. Thank you and have a lovely day.
Good afternoon. This is Lynn Chapman, LYNNCHAPMAN, and I'm the treasurer for the Independent American Party. Oh my, how did people vote in the olden days? Well, we had election day, and that was it. And people managed to figure out how to vote. Now we've got all these extra days, all the drop boxes and everything else that's going on, and people still can't figure out what to do. Well, all they have to do is get their sample ballot and read it. In there tells you where you can vote, bring your ballots, what days are available, et cetera, et cetera. What we're concerned with is security. I know that the amendment had a new security, this and that, but we are still concerned with security and ballot harvesting, also with the money involved that it'll take for extra days that are really not needed. People just need to start being more responsible and figuring out how to do things. It's not that hard or difficult. I think all the other people before me have expressed all the rest of the concerns that we had. So thank you. Please vote no.
Chair, the public line is open and working, and there are no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you, Broadcasting. I know earlier there was a caller that got disconnected, so I'd like to hold on maybe in case that caller wants to try to call back in. Maybe we could give just a little period of time, see if they want to call back in. Was there anybody here in Carson City that wished to speak that didn't get a chance to speak? No? Okay, everybody, all right. And I think we got everybody down in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, has anyone else called in or reconnected wishing to speak on the bill?
Let's check that out. If you'd like to testify in opposition to AB 306, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers at this time.
Thank you, Broadcasting. I'd like to now move to neutral. Anyone who's neutral on the measure and wishes to be heard, I'll start here in Carson City and then go down to Las Vegas, then we'll go to the phone lines. Anyone who's neutral on the measure and wishes to speak, thanks for your patience. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you. Amy Bergens, Douglas County Clerk Treasurer. I just want to come up in neutral and just state that I am appreciative of Speaker Yeager bringing this forward with the understanding that the rural counties have limited resources and limited availability to be able to accommodate this on the weekend in between early voting and election day. That is when we do the majority of our planning and setting up and getting ready. We're not off. We are still working very hard. But I will say that Douglas County already does this. We do have drop-box hours on the Saturday and the Monday in between early voting and election day. It is vital that our constituents and our voters have that resource the weekend in between. Sometimes they're not sure during early voting who they want to vote for, but they're busy. They work on election day. So we just want to, again, thank Speaker Yeager for understanding that the rurals don't necessarily have the resources to do this, but if we can comply, we do understand that it is important. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments, your testimony. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa DeGraffenreid. Teresa, T-H-E-R-E-S-A, DeGraffenreid, D-E-G-R-A-F-F-E-N-R-E-I-D. And I wasn't planning on making any kind of statement or testifying, but while I sat here and listened to other people's testimony, I kind of thought to myself that I noticed that all of the people that were for the bill were paid lobbyists for testifying on behalf of this or that organization. And all of that I could see, most of the ones that were against it were just people, voters, who had a problem with the way that it is. And excuse me. And I have worked in my county for the elections department, and I've had an opportunity during that time to chat with voters, either dropping off their ballots or coming in to vote in person. And I have had no one have any problem with being able to get there or be able to get their ballot in. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Graffenreid. Don't see anyone in Las Vegas coming forward for neutral. Don't see anyone else in Carson City. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to be heard in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 306?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for AB 306, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you, Broadcasting. And we didn't have anyone else call in that there was that one opposition caller that got disconnected. No one else has joined the lines.
No one else has joined. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker Yeager, thank you so much for presenting Assembly Bill 306. We'd love, if you'd love to make any closing comments, we'd sure appreciate it. Thank you for presenting the bill today.
Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee, Steve Yeager, for the record, thank you for hearing this bill. I know you guys consider some really weighty bills with a lot of testimony, and so I want to thank you for your time and the work you're doing. I did want to thank those who participated in the process. I may not always agree with them, but I think we should acknowledge that people take time out of their schedule to either come here or to call in and testify. And I did want to recognize our really hardworking elections officials. This is not meant to be any sort of attack on them. I think they do the best they have, the best they can with the resources that they have. I did want to make just a couple of quick points in conclusion, if I could, Chair. And I think one of the callers in support, I think, said it perfectly. She said, we have to look at the world not as we think it is or not as we hope it is, but as it actually exists. And, I think all of us as candidates who have talked to voters, there's an issue here. People want an option over the weekend, and they're surprised to learn that they can't vote over those 3 days. Now, might we hope and like and expect that people would get out and early vote? Yes, but that's not the reality of the world we live in. And, the realities of our constituents are different depending on where they live and what their circumstance is. You might have someone working multiple jobs in Las Vegas. And I know this will be offensive to some of us as politicians and political candidates, but some people don't really get interested in the election until a couple days before. Despite all the mailing you do and all the talking to them, they're not interested in voting until they're right up to that point where they have to do it. And I just think it would be a shame for us to lose out on someone saying, well, look, I would vote today if I could go drop a ballot off, but I'm not going to go on election day for whatever reason. So think about your experience as a candidate. The other thing I'll say is I mentioned those numbers, right, of the number of ballots in Clark and Washoe that get dropped off on election day in a drop box. 56,000 in Clark County, 11,000 in Washoe County, and obviously there are others in the rural counties. Those ballots have to be counted at some point. So this is not a resource issue. You heard about, well, you're going to be diverting resources. Those are ballots that must be counted and processed. What we're trying to do is spread that out and flatten the way in which votes come in, because that will allow them, I believe, to be counted quicker. I heard a lot of complaints over the last election, as did all of you, about how long it took to get results. Some people said Nevada was a national embarrassment. I disagreed with that because I think one of the benefits of living in a competitive purple state is that we don't know the election results right away. That's a good thing in my mind. But in thinking about what can we do as a legislature to try to get results quicker, because we live in a world where people want results right away. They don't want to wait till the next day. That's just the reality of the world we live in. I think this is a very common sense way to do that, because the problem is when you have folks trying to run an election at an election site and try to process 56,000 ballots that are put in a drop box on election day, that's too much work for them to do on one day. If we can flatten some of that, I think we are going to get results quicker. I'm not here to relitigate mail-in ballots. It's not what this bill's about. This bill recognizes that universal mail-in ballots are a thing in Nevada. And the question is, how do we make that process better? I think this bill does make the process better. You heard somebody say, well, what if we just said you can't receive any ballots after Election Day in the mail? I know in this committee, you've gotten the data from the Secretary of State. Very few ballots actually come in after Election Day in the mail. You could make that change today, and it will not solve the problem of us not having election results on election night. What will help solve this problem is trying to make sure that the mail-in ballots that come in drop boxes come in on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as well as Tuesday. So there's a realistic chance for our clerks to be able to count those ballots prior to and on election day. So this was a bill that I brought directly in response to concerns that I heard from folks saying, why don't we have results on election night? Is this going to do that? I don't know, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think it gives us a much better chance of going to bed on election night And at least knowing who the next president of the United States is, at least knowing who the next U.S. senator is. Some of our races are going to be close, and no matter what, we're going to be waiting until a few days after. That is the nature of living in a competitive district and having to work hard. But Chair, I would urge you and this committee, despite everything you heard, to really look at the merits of this bill. It is a meritorious bill. I think it'll help us get those results, and we should want voting to be safe, accessible, and secure, and I think this does that. And just look to your own experience. You've talked to folks who would love to go drop a mail ballot at the drop-off box, and you saw in the Washoe numbers, when it is available, people use it. And we heard from one of our smaller counties today too, that they offer that, and it's something that their constituents use. So we know there's a demand there, and I would just ask you to thoughtfully consider this, and happy to answer any additional questions after this hearing if anyone wants to talk any more about it. But thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members, for your attention today.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Thank you for presenting the bill. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. With that, we will now go to public comment. Last item on our agenda. Is there anyone here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas who wishes to make public comment? We are limiting public comments to 2 minutes per person. I don't see anyone in either of the hearing rooms, so broadcasting, if we could go to the phone lines for public comment.
If you'd like to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, Ivanoff, and I just want to say as a public comment, I'm very disappointed to hear an elected official say that he doesn't think that Nevada was total embarrassment on this election when they picked the House, the Senate, and the President before Nevada ever told them who are we picking. They were able to get majority Republicans on everything. They were able to know who the president is, and Nevada showed that it was totally irrelevant the way elections are run now. You guys need to make laws that help put Nevada on the stage and be competitive with the rest of the states. Not when future election comes, presidents don't even come here to talk to us because we are irrelevant. We showed absolutely irrelevance. And also you have another bill that you're trying to push for national votes. So regardless of who Nevada chose, we have to go with the national vote. That's also going to diminish Nevada power on the stage of the United States. We have such a small piece, and legislations like this and opinions like this, that this was not an embarrassment, is why Nevada is going to keep losing relevance. And it is very disappointing to hear that that's the official opinion of our one of our legislators. I'm sorry. I know you're trying your best, but you really need to try harder. Thank you and have a lovely day.
Chair, the public line is open and working, and you have no more callers at this time.
Thank you, members, for your being here, your patience, and your interest in the bills we're working on. We will meet again Thursday. We've got a lot of bills that came over from the other house. We may actually have to have an additional meeting. We're not sure yet. We're still trying to work that out. But we may have one that's not on our regular scheduled day, but we'll try to reach out to everybody to see what days work best for everyone, or else we may just have to have longer meetings with a lot of the bills we got from over in the other house. So appreciate everyone's attention, and thank you, and have a great evening. We are adjourned.